Hello viewers, welcome to our channel, and today we are going to look at Microsoft Office Specialist Word program. In other words, what we are going to be looking at in our introduction is as far as Microsoft Word is concerned. So what we are going to basically look at today, we are going to actually focus on learning what to do with Microsoft Word, and we'll be able to have practical aspects on how we do certain things. In other words, it's going to be a two-in-one session where we shall have the theoretical aspect relating to what we are going to be doing. Secondly, we'll focus on the practical aspect. In other words, we'll look at the practicability of that item that we've looked at. So, anyone who is going to be following us through this journey of our Microsoft Word application, you may be a student, you may be someone who is trying to get some additional knowledge on how to do certain things. But as a student learning Microsoft, then you will be able to use this application to do what is needed to communicate and share information in the world of work and life. So this tutorial involves a step-by-step instructions and illustrations to introduce and reinforce the skills needed to pass the Microsoft Office Specialist Word certification exam. In other words, our target item is to be able to pass the Microsoft Office Specialist certification. We have different certifications for Microsoft applications, like for Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and other things as we shall see. But our emphasis today is going to be on Microsoft Office Specialist Word certification. And whether you're going to be using a version of 2013, 2016, 2019, whichever version, whether you're using Microsoft 365, we shall be having some slight differences depending on the version you're using on your computer or your desktop or your laptop. But the whole idea is that we are going to have the basics that are going to help us to start learning Microsoft Word application to a point where we are going to the intermediate level and the advanced level in that same certification. So by you getting to know each and everything that we are going to discuss, it will help you become an expert as far as Microsoft Word is concerned. So whichever version you are going to be using. Microsoft, maybe to give you some clarity on the Microsoft Office Specialist certification. Microsoft Office Specialist, that is MOS, is an industrial leading certification designed to assess the mastery of Microsoft Office application. So, candidates are evaluated on their ability to apply their knowledge of important Microsoft Office features in a project-based environment. Certified Microsoft Office specialists demonstrate internationally recognized skills that can be leveraged for future success in both the classroom and the workplace. So, for us to support students seeking for that Microsoft Office Specialist certification, these tutorials provide a detailed instruction in all of the skills assessed on the Microsoft Office Specialist Word Certification exam. So, what are the benefits of using these tutorials? Because we are basically giving you these tutorials, there is a reason, there is what you are going to be benefiting from this as far as the certification is concerned. So, this program of our Microsoft Office Specialist Word certification is designed to be used by students enrolled in a word processing program application course and by learners looking to expand their knowledge of Microsoft Word for their Microsoft Office Specialist Certification exam. So students should have a basic familiarity with working on a computer, because we expect at least someone to have be familiar with the use of a laptop, a desktop, whichever computer you're going to be using. But at least we urge that you have that familiarity in the use of a computer. So these Microsoft Word skills and features, they are presented in order ranging from the basic to intermediate level, then to advanced level. So the lessons in these tutorials reinforce and build upon the knowledge as it is acquired, meaning when you follow these tutorials from the basic to the intermediate, then to the advanced level, they are going to be the skills you are going to be gaining from the basic level. You'll add them to those that you'll get from the intermediate level and those that you got from the advanced level for you to come out as a specialist in that field. So that's why we are saying these lessons, they reinforce and build upon knowledge as it is acquired. So these lessons should be completed in the order they are presented. How are they going to be presented? We are going to put them in numbers. We say this is lesson 1. We may call them lessons, we may call them chapters, but they are going to be, as for this course, we are going to call them lessons. So they may be lesson 1, as in maybe that is chapter 1, then we get all the details, tutorials that are within that chapter. Then we go to another chapter or we go to another lesson. So these skills, they are going to be attained as per the lesson you have attended. So throughout these lessons, you will also gain hands-on experience with all the skills assessed on the Microsoft Office Specialist Word certification. So this Microsoft Office Specialist certification can help you boost confidence in your ability to use the key features of Word application program that you may encounter in the workplace and beyond. So Microsoft Office Specialist certification can also be a valuable asset when applying for jobs, helping you demonstrate experience and proficiency in essential workplace productivity principles, including communication and collaboration. So that's how basically I can introduce what we are going to be looking at today. But maybe to get to know the format of these tutorials. So we try to understand the format of these lectures that we are going to be having on our Microsoft Word program. So these tutorials, they are going to be divided into 10 parts, each part containing individual lessons pertaining to the different ribbons in the Microsoft Word. In other words, each lesson is going to be picking out a certain item as it is in our Microsoft Word. Lessons in these tutorials have been organized into an easy to understand, self-guided, and we have also some visual formats where you encounter and practice the new skill. So as you are learning, you will be able to get the theoretical aspect, and at the same time, you get how it's done practically. That is going to help you streamline your learning by understanding how to do it, and you actually do it by yourself. So it's going to be a practical course or tutorials where you will be able to learn from the basics to the advanced level as far as Microsoft Word is concerned. So, but what we may also do within these tutorials or within these lessons, we may find that some of these lessons, they have some work to do, like exercises. You may find that we may say, maybe let's do this, and maybe we try to see how we can be able to share to each other, to be able to improve what we've learned, to be able to understand our mistakes, if at all we've made them, and be able to understand better. So we may have those sections that where we may provide some exercises that we need to do as individuals to improve our understanding. So these are going to help us to be able to understand the things that we are going to learn from Microsoft Word, and they are also the ones that are going to help us pass our Microsoft Office Specialist Word certification exams. So, but as something, or the last thing I may talk about is that we are going to be talking about in every lesson or in every lecture or in every video that we are going to be making, we are going to highlight certain things. We are going to highlight the purpose of that video. If the video is talking about this, what is the purpose of that video in relation to the certification that we are trying to target? Secondly, we are also going to highlight the skills that we are going to be attaining from that video. We say that maybe from now, our video number 1, we've been able to learn how to open an Excel file, a Word document, how to save it. We've able to maybe to learn how to set our page numbers, set our page margins, and all that. So those are some of the things that we may actually try to look at and see what we may be having from that perspective. But as I said, don't forget that our target is to be able to look at the practicability of some of these theoretical things that we may talk about and how they are going to actually help us. So in the next video, we are going to be looking at our part 1, and we are going to be looking at the Word document, the basics of Word document. Those are things that we are going to basically focus on, like exploring the places to save our work. There are so many things. So we are going to look at the basics, the basic things that we need to know from our Microsoft Word. So we'll see you in the next video. Hello viewers, welcome back. We are now in our first video, and this is video number 1 of part 1 of our 10 parts of this tutorial from Microsoft Office Word. So as we are seeing, we are going to look at the places where we can save our work. So before we do that, let's try to look at this is also going to be our lesson number 1 in that part 1. Remember, our part 1 was document basics. So I want you to remember that every part we finish, we are going to be having something like an assignment, something like an exercise. It will be a personal item. What you're supposed to do, you compare what we've learned from all these videos, and you have something. We have something that at least can show the skills we've been talking about. Because I told you, in every video we are going to be looking at, we are going to have to know the skills that we have actually acquired from that particular video. So let's now look at maybe the overview of this video. That's exploring the places to save work. So when using a computer, saving an electronic document is much like saving hard copies of documents. They need to be put somewhere. Like for instance, just imagine your computer is a file cabinet with many drawers, and in each drawer there are folders, and in each folder there are subfolders and files. So just as you would never just toss a document into a random drawer, you would never save work without first deciding on which drawer or on which drive or on which folder to save it. Once the drive or the folder has been chosen, you can be even more specific about your organization and save the work, or you save the file to a particular folder within that drive. So as you can see, when you're using computers, we need to save these documents electronically. Like we save it, and when we come back, we can actually be able to retrieve the document and have a look at it. So before you actually save these documents, you have to first decide, where should I put this file? And how am I going to name the file before saving it? for easy identification, because one of the reasons that will force you to choose which location or which drive you are going to use to save your file is that the accessibility. If you are not going to access, if you are not going to be with your laptop all the time, you may decide that let me just save my document online so that even when I don't have a laptop, I can actually access my document. So accessibility is going to force you to determine where you are going to save the document, depending on how accessible it will be when you need it. So in this lesson, you will identify and explore the places that our work or our files can be saved. You will not be required to save any work as of now, but what we are just going to do is just to know the places where we can save our work. So since we are not going to save anything and we are not going to have any document we are saving, but what we are just doing is exploring the things that we can use to save our work. So that was just the overview of the lesson. And one is going to be wondering, what are some of the things that we may use to save our document if at all you don't have? Remember, we said these tutorials, they are coming from the basic principles to intermediate, then to advanced. For those who find these, you know where to save, but just stick to the video and be able to understand how fast can you do that, because others know what to do, but here we are looking at how fast can we do that. So let's now try to look at the terms and the tools. In other words, the tools are going to be representing those different drives where we are going to save our work. And the terms, we need to memorize some of the terms that when I say local drive, it's like you know what it means and you can actually understand when I talk about it. So we are going to review the following tools and we will learn and practice using. In other words, we are going to learn these tools because these are the same tools that we are going to be using in this course. And even when, because you may be required maybe to save your work on your desktop, to save your work on a given folder, so we need to see what is the name of that tool and how do we actually save the work. So let's now try to look at some of those tools. One of the tools, we are going to look at them here from our laptop. We look at them and we see how they are. So we can now maybe try to open this blank document. This is not what we are studying for now, but I just want to take you through those different areas. So go to File, how to save. Let's just go to the Save button. So that's where we are going to start from. So we have one of them is local drive. The second one is network drive. The third one is any removable drive. It may be a memory card, it may be a CD drive, it may be a flash drive, it may be anything. Then the last one is the cloud drive. Then we shall also look at what we call the file manager. So let's try to have a look at each of them. This one is the one that we call the cloud drive. This is one of an example of a cloud drive that OneDrive. But now I want to access from our browser here. We go to our browser, we see the documents, we see the things that are available there. We are not saving this file, but we are just trying to look at some of the things that we have. Let's try to make this a little bit bigger. So let's try to look from this point here. This is the point that we want. I want you to focus on. So we've spoke about what we call the local drive. A local drive is this one. This is the local drive. This is our local drive. This location here is our local drive, the whole of this. This is our local drive. Then down here is what we call the network drive. It is this one right here. This is our network drive. Then any removable drive, it might be a CD drive, this one. If I click on it, it will bring please insert the CD drive, because we have not inserted any CD compact disk. It's not there. So this is one of the removable drive. You can put it, you can remove it. It can be a flash, it can be anything. Then these two, this one, I've said this one and this one, they represent the same thing. These are the local drive, the ones that are within So we are now going to look at the one that we call the file manager. That one we shall look at it later, but let's focus on this. Let me try to see if I can highlight. We get a screenshot of this. These are the things that we are focusing on. Those are the ones that we are focusing on. So you can cancel this one, and maybe you come back to the document and we'll paste it here. We can paste it here for us to be able to see. So these are the areas. These are the things that we are focusing on. These are the things that we are focusing on. So these are the things that we are looking at for now. You can maybe just remove that a little bit to have that kind of space. So those are the things that we've been looking at. This, we said this is our local drive. This one and this one, these are our local drive, though they are named differently, but they are all local drives. This one is our removable drive. Then this one is our network drive. So we are going to look at each of those and we see what they are and when do we use them. So the first one is the local drive or the local disk drive. A computer's local drive is a hard drive located inside your computer. It is the place that programs are typically installed and where files can be saved. So if files are saved to a computer's local drive, they can only be opened from that particular computer. So the first one, the local drive or the local disk drive, these are our hard drives. And those hard drives, they are within our laptops. If you are using a desktop, they are within your CPU, the central processing unit. And that's the brain. It's like the brain where we keep all the information if at all we want to memorize it. Maybe we want to store our information there, we store our applications there, that anytime we want to use them, we can actually access them from that point. But now the issue with the local drive is that if you save your work on a particular local drive, remember it is within your computer, it is the hard disk that is within your computer. It means you can only access that document when you are using that computer. That's one of the challenge. It's that it is fixed in one place. It can't be accessed from any other point. It can only be accessed from that same computer you stored your data to. And these we've said, these are our hard disk drives. The hard disk, those ones they even sell. You can go and buy an external hard disk if maybe your internal hard disk is now full. Some of them you may find that this one I have 500 gigabytes and I want to put, maybe I want to insert a 1 TB, 1 terabyte hard disk. So you go and buy the other one, you keep this one aside and you put the other one inside. So it is where we install all the softwares that we are using in the computer. Hope we can be able to understand that. Then now we want to go to our network drives. The network drive, in other words, for these network drives, just the way you hear network, they are things that are going to be stored on internet, and that's it. This is the network we are talking about, the network drive. And for these network drives, we find that many organizations such as schools and companies, you find that these schools and companies, they are going to give you access. They are going to give every users or their employees access, or students, they give them access to a shared computer drive. And when they give you a password, maybe they have given you access, they have given you login details. And these login details, they are helping you access that shared computer drive. And that's what we call the network drive. So this network drive is a very large hard drive, and it contains files from all users in the organization or in the school. You may find that we have so many computers, but we are only giving users, like the students, we are giving the employees just the login passwords for them to access that hard disk if at all they want to save their work. So we find that the work is within that central point. Everyone is just sharing their work there. So you find that that large hard disk contains files from all the users in the organization or in the school. And it will only require you to have a login, maybe from your network manager or your network provider, to be able to have access. And now the challenge with this is that once you save your work to a network drive, you can only access that work when you have logged in. You get your password or your login details, and you be able to put those logins and access your documents. Because the reason as why they are giving you access, they are giving you login details, is that this hard disk has so many documents for the different users for a given period of time. So if you want to access anything, you have to ask for the logins that you used when you are saving that work to that point. So that's what we call the network drive. You may find it is only one hard disk, and it is the one that all the computers are using in that organization. That's what we could call the network drive. They are connected by the network because it is from one point spreading to the other users. And that's different from the cloud. We're not saving on internet. It's not basically on internet, but it is just networking. They are just connected to each other. The other computer is connected to that single server. The other computer is connected to that single server. So to access the documents you have shared to that point, you have to have a password or login details. But that doesn't mean that we are sharing the documents online. No. So that was the second one. Then the third one is the removable drive. This is our example of a removable drive, the CD drive. Now, there are many types of removable storage devices which a computer can accept. For example, we may have an external hard disk drive. We may have USB drives. They are also referred to as thumb drives or flash drives. Those flash disks, memory cards, and all that. So now, often these drives are used to back up files, but they are also used to transport your work from one computer to another computer. That's one of the advantages, is that if you save your work on an external drive, you can be able to move that external drive to another computer and you be able to access your file from there. The only challenge is that if these computers are infected, if they have viruses, if maybe the storage device is having a virus, you're having a risk of transferring the virus to other computers or even having your files lost. But we've said flash disks, memory cards, USB, external hard drives, and CD drives. There are so many other things that we can use to store our data when it's not on the internet. So let's look at now the fourth one, which is the cloud drive. Cloud drives or the cloud storage drives allows a user to work with files that are physically unattached to your computer. In other words, you are using these files, but the files are not connected to your computer automatically. They are not physically in your computer. Files are saved to a place that is accessed via the web, or you can actually save this work on those different cloud web platforms where you can be able to save your work, and this is going to allow the users to have access to these files from anywhere as long as they are connected to internet. As long as they have internet connection, they can have access to their cloud drives. And some of the examples of these cloud storage drives, we have OneDrive. Second, we have the Google Drive. Third, we have the Dropbox. So these are some of the online webs that we can allow us to save our work. So Many cloud storage platforms provide an application to work on the file. Because now, if for example, when you're opening a Word document from OneDrive, the user has the option to edit the document directly in their web browsers without having to open their Microsoft Word programs. These online applications, such as the Word Online, provide automatic saving of your files to your cloud storage. As you work, the application will periodically save your changes without you having to initiate the save option. In other words, these online versions, they give you an extra advantage in a sense that you can actually access your documents anywhere as long as you have internet connection. Two, you can be able to edit those documents you have uploaded in your online storage facilities and be able to save the changes without necessarily using the Microsoft Word application. So those are some of the things that we can see. We are seeing some of the advantages of some of these storage items that we have. But there is something that we've not talked about, is what we call a file manager. You can maybe delete this for now. You can try to go to save again. You can browse. We want to look at the file manager. We see I wanted to get something that can help us to get that, but it seems we can't have it there. But I'm going to illustrate it, and we can be able to know. But the file manager is just, it's not necessarily a storage facility, but it is just an interface. The interface you use to view your computer's folder. In other words, the interface you use to view your computer folder's structure is what we call the file manager. One, we have Windows 10, Windows 10, Windows 11, and the other Windows that you may be using on your computer. But for Windows 10 utilizes File Explorer, the File Explorer. And that Windows 10, for those that are using Windows 10, we are using File Explorer. And when you launch that File Explorer, it allows the user to see the folders and files located on the computer's hard drive. The ones that are on the hard drive, the ones that are on the network drive, and any connected removable drive. So it is something that is containing all the things that you can see from this point. You can actually see all the documents that we have on our hard disk, the network drives, and any connected removable drives. Some cloud storage drives may also be visible if the computer has been configured to internet and you have connected it automatically to your cloud storage account. Like for this you can see from this point, we are seeing we have one drive. Though there are no documents, but at least you can see it here. We are going to look at some of those things and we'll see how we can be able to do those things. So we are also going to be able to see how you can actually connect your OneDrive account and you connect it to your computer so that you can actually see, just like you are seeing here, it is connected, but there are no documents. It's not connected because we are not seeing any document that has been saved on that OneDrive. But that OneDrive cloud storage folder, it will appear there and it will show you the files. So we shall see how we connect that on a web, and we see how we can be able to upload and download the saved documents. So now we want to look at maybe the skills. What have we learned? In this video, we've been able to learn how to use the file manager. We have actually learned the uses of the file manager, because we've seen that it is that file manager that is keeping all those files that we may access from the hard drive, from the network drive, removable disks, and all that. So you'll find those points there. The file explorer, you can find it and see all these that we are talking about. So we've also been able to understand the tools that we can be able to use to save our document. But now we want also to learn how to be able to create a folder, log into our online OneDrive, that is the online storage drive, and we see how we can be able to connect our OneDrive to the computer, to our computer. That's what we are going to be looking at. So we can have this as a practical, because we said this is going to be a little bit more theoretical, and at the end of the day we do some practical aspects. So we are now going to look at in this same lesson, we want to also to see how we can be able to set up folders on our hard disk or network disk or on our OneDrive. And please, I want you to get this clearly, is that in a sense that these processes that we may go through, depending on the version of Word application we are using, there may be some slight changes. They are not going to be totally different, but they are just slight changes that we may find from our practical aspects. So let's try to look at how we can create a folder on our, first of all, we create on our local disk. How do we create folder on our hard disk? We can create it anywhere. So we can maybe come here and we can right click, we go to new, then we go to folder, just come. But we want to name it as our, because these are going to be the work that we are going to be looking at. So let's name it Word project, or let me just say my work Word projects. I've saved it on that. This is the folder that we have created. By what have we done? We've just right click anywhere in the space, we go to new, the folder will come by itself. Or the other option, someone can just come here, new folder. When you click on it, you just put in the name of the folder. So we can delete this because we don't want to have two. We can also delete this and we create it on the other one. We create it down here, because we said the whole of these are, we just highlight, we just right click in a blank space, we go to folder. These are my Word projects. Now I've created that folder. You can also go to our network. If you have the network, you can actually create it. You can create it anywhere because we don't want to create so many. So, but it is better we create it on our local disk. Here we don't have our removable device, so we just create it there. We just put it down there. We have put that already. So that's our first skill. We have learned how to create a folder in that. Then we can also try to connect we set up and we connect our OneDrive account. If you have already created it, you can actually come and put in the folder as this is going to be my online. We just try to change a little bit. My online worker Word projects. Or you can call it my online Word files. But let me just call them projects because we are going to be putting very many. So for those who haven't maybe connected, because me have already my OneDrive connected to my computer, but if you haven't, you just go to onedrive.com, you connect, you log in into your OneDrive account from that onedrive.com, and if you log in, you will be able to connect it to your computer. So as we said, these instructions, they may be different depending on the version that you are using. So we finished learning the use of the file manager, creating a folder, and those who haven't logged in, you log in into your OneDrive using onedrive.com. After logging in, you connect to your computer. So that's all that we had to do in our first video of part 1. So in the next video, we are going to look at the navigation. How do we navigate in our Word document? How do we move from one point to another in our Word document? So that's what we are going to be looking at in our lesson 2. But it is lesson 2 of part 1 of our Microsoft Word presentations. Thank you for watching. Hello viewers, welcome back. This is our video number 2 under part 1 of basics of Word document. So video number 2 is going to be giving us the navigational ways through our Word document. In other words, we are going to navigate into our Word document, navigating Word. So let's get started. We are now getting started and we are looking at navigating Word document. We want to understand that Microsoft Word is a powerful word processing tool used by millions of people worldwide. So, developing skills in this application will make you more productive and efficient when completing schoolwork and projects. Microsoft Word allows a user to create, edit, print, and share many different types of documents. These documents can include texts, graphics, hyperlinks, and video elements to make your work an efficient and effective form of communication with various audiences. So in this lesson, you'll become familiar with the word processing, with the word application interface. But you have to remember that you will not be required to save any of your work. But as I said, you have to be memorizing some of these things, because at the end of part 1, we are going to have something like an assessment to understand the skills that we've been talking about, whether we've learned them as we've been going through these videos. So this is video 2 of part 1. So the things we expect to learn from this video is the skills that we are going to get after completing this video. We expect that we are going to understand how to create a blank document. We will understand the backstage view. We will identify ribbons, tabs, and groups. We will also change document views. We will also understand how to customize views by using zoom settings. Then lastly, we shall look at closing Word. How do we close a Word document? So those are the things that we are going to look at. And as you've seen, they are they are not all that, they are not few things that we can just say we are. So let's try to look at how we can be able to see, because we have so many things that we need to learn. So if you open your Word or your Microsoft Word, if you open it for the first time, you open it from your start screen, and the first thing you see is, when you open your Word, the first thing that you will see is that first page that you are seeing on the screen right now. And what you see from there, you can actually see that we have several things that we can look at from this point. You can see that we have a list of different files. These are the recent files that you can see, as you can see from this point here. The recent files that we have here. So those are the ones you can be able to see. From up here, we have create. We have where we can create our blank document. We can use this to create our blank document. And we can see that there are other templates. And the reason as why we are seeing these other templates is because you may find yourself you are going to write something that is related to these templates that they are providing you here, and you don't necessarily need to start from scratch. So that's why you are seeing there. So you can even see from here more. You can even search and look at whatever you want to find from that point if it is not here. So you can go online and start searching the things that you want to have. But at the moment, we can create our blank document. It's where we are. This is document 2 because we've been here. We have created a second document. We just want the first one because we had created our blank document. That's how the blank document looks like. But now we want us to talk about the backstage view. The backstage view is accessed from the file section here. This is the backstage view. Whatever you're seeing from that point is what we call the backstage view. You can only access that backstage view when you click the file tab, as we've done. The backstage view is the central place for managing your documents. It's where we go if at all we want to manage our documents. Actions such as saving, actions such as printing, or opening previously saved files can also be done from this point. Because you are seeing our recent documents that we have, we can actually come and open them. These are the recent documents that I have been working on. So if you want to print, you can come here and print. If you want to save, you can come here and save. So there are so many things that we can do from that backstage view because it's where we go if at all we want to manage our documents. So we are now seeing different options. Different options are appearing depending on your selection. For example, when you come here and click on open, you will see that you will have a different screen coming up. And you will see that your computers, file folders, and cloud folders appear on the screen. We are seeing these are the computer folders. This is the cloud drive where we saved our documents. These are other places. If you click on browse, you can actually look at other places where you can save your documents. So now that's the backstage view. If you click on print, you will also see the printing view. If you click on more, you will also be able to see more options. So that's what we call the backstage view. So for now, if you want to go back to your document, how do we move from the backstage view back to our page? We come and click this arrow you are seeing up here. Maybe I can take a screen. This is the arrow I'm talking about. When you click on this arrow, it takes you back to your page. That is the screen I'm talking about. Let me paste it here. That's how it looks like. So when you come on your file, you'll find this is the space we are talking about. You are seeing that when you click there, it takes you back to our page. The other option is to come to your keyboard and you click the escape key. When you click on that escape key, it's going also to take you to the same place, back to our open file. So now we are in that. We have finished launching Word and working with files. We've seen the different files and how we can actually work with them. So let's now look at how do we navigate. Let's look at the navigation path. Let's first delete this. So now we want to come back here and look at that's our page. But now, as you can see, this page looks a bit different. You may find when you come here, you have the page looks a little bit different. It depends on the version that you're using. You may find that someone has opened and it is showing these rulers, those points, these ones here and this side. That one is okay because I can also turn them on and off. So that's okay. How it looks for now doesn't really matter. What matters is that we have the open file. In other words, the application window is open. The word application window displays the working area of your document and provides access to the tools needed to enter, edit, and format text and other content. So whatever we are seeing, it's an application window, Word application window that has opened. So what we are seeing now, it is providing us all the things that we need to have that is going to help us to edit, put in new content, and also do other things. So now let's try to look at some of the application window keys. In other words, the things that we are going to use to help us edit, to help us enter, and to help us format texts and other contents within our file. We are going to look at the different things that we have. The first thing I want us to talk about is what we call the quick access toolbar. Where is the quick access toolbar? The quick access toolbar is actually commonly used, is actually something that we often use. It is where we find the commonly used commands, and it is at the top of the application window, and it can also be customized to stay visible. This is the one that we are talking about. This is the one that we refer to as the quick access toolbar. We can have maybe a print review of this so that we can be able to, this is what we are referring. This is what we are referring to. That is the quick access toolbar. These items you are seeing up here, these are the ones that we are referring to. That's the area that has the commonly used features. And we shall learn how to customize it in later videos. But I just want us to recognize that this is this and this is that. So let's now look at the second one, which is the ribbon. The ribbon, actually the ribbon, its role is actually to group the related tools in one section. In other words, it provides groups of related tools organized within a set of tabs. And these can be collapsed or expanded. So we can delete this. We now look at the ribbon. This is the ribbon we are talking about, the whole of this. Let me just take a print screen of the ribbon. starts from this point. The whole of that point is what we call, that's what we call the ribbon. Let's first put the view lines and we try to extend this a bit. So this is the whole of this idea, the whole of this item is what we call, that's what we are talking about. That is the one that we are talking about. That's the ribbon that we are talking about. Can maybe try to zoom in. We adjust it a bit. That's what we call the ribbon. It's that is going to give us the list of related items. It puts them in a tab. These tabs, they have related items that we can actually collapse. So like for file tab, it takes us to the backstage view. The home, it gives us all these sections that you are seeing. So the insert is giving us also different options. The layout is also giving us different sections. The reference is also giving us different sections. So that's what we call the ribbon. Then the third one is the program window controls. So this was the ribbon. Now let's try to look at the program window controls. In other words, the word controls. These word controls, they allow you to move, resize, and close the application window and customize ribbon display options. It is from this point up here, the whole of this idea, this item is what we call the program window controls. Let me just take a print screen. We have a little bit this and we know what we are talking about exactly. So it is from this point, this is what we are talking about. That's the item that we are talking about. So that's the item that we are talking about. That's it. That's what we call the program window controls. It can help you to resize, you can delete. It can help you to resize, like the way you're seeing, I've resized it. It can help you to maximize it. So you can also cancel from this point. So that's what we call the window control. So the fourth one is what we call the share control. The share control. So there are those that are going to be having that item for sharing. Supposed to be around here. This item here. This only item here. It has share document. This one, if I first maybe collapse that a bit, is what we call the share. Others are going to have it in terms of something. You may have maybe something, a certain symbol of a human being here, and there is a word share. But for these newer versions, we have it in this format. So it is that. Let me take just a print screen of that only item that I'm talking about. This is how it is. It looks like. So that's it. That's the share control. It allows you to share information to the different people. it allows you to share that very document with other users. So from that point, it can help you to know who the document has been shared with. Then others, you may also have an option for comment. You may have option here for a comment. It will also look like, for those older versions, it looks like this one. For it, it says comment. You may have two options there for those that are using older versions, because that one only allows you to send and respond to comments in a document. But we know how those we can actually do them. Some of the things, if you don't see if I mention maybe like the comment, if you don't see it here, it doesn't mean it is completely not there. It's there. From these tabs, you can actually access some of those options. Just like the same way you are not seeing, you are seeing my Word document is opening without those rulers, and I can only put them from this point. So it's something that you will see, and you find yourself a little bit worried. So don't get worried. These things, it's just a change in software. If this changes, you find other things have been included in different tabs. That's why I said there must be, you may find when there are some slight changes, but that doesn't mean that you are using a wrong version. So now someone may be wondering, where is that option that we call the page? The page is this white sheet here you are seeing. The whole of this is what we call a sheet. Sorry, a page. This white one you are seeing on the screen, this is what they call a page. That's the page. The area on which your content appears as it is entered and formatted. If you see, when you type, your things can't just exceed that point. Maybe they can't exceed there. Where they are is actually what we call the page. That's the page. Then let's look at maybe the last part of this. Let's look at the last part of this point, the one that we call the view controls. Those that can help you adjust zooming, where you can zoom in and zoom out of that document, as well as select the view, the different view option. This is the point that we call the view controls. Can maybe try to take print screen of that. You see what we are talking about. Is this point right here? It's that point. That's the point that we are talking about. That's the point that is going to allow you to increase the zoom level, like the way you're seeing. I'm increasing the zoom level of the paper, and I can reduce it. I can increase it to any margin I want. So that's it. The other one is, it is going to allow us to change the view options. We have, from this point, we are seeing that we are in that item of the print. This is the print layout. In other words, that's the format if you are to print. This is the read mode. That's how it looks like. Though we don't have anything here, we would have seen it right. Then there is that format. which is the web format. So those options, they are also there. So those are the things that we can look at from the application window. Those are the things that we can learn from that. Then let's now try to break these things a little bit to a point where we are going to be talking about the ribbon parts. In other words, let's focus on those ribbon alone, because it's what is going to help us to navigate well. Because if you know where to go, you can actually be able to reach out to those different parts. And the only way we can do that is by actually knowing where to go when you need to do something. So let's try and look at, let's delete this for now because we have seen it. We shall come back maybe to it later. Can delete it. So let's bring back our ribbon. Let me just take a print screen of the ribbon. Let me paste it there. Can try to reduce maybe the zoom levels. Take it back to 100. So hope we can be able to see from that point. So we are going to be, so now we go back to that's the whole ribbon. So we are going to look at word ribbon interface. In other words, these people were using Word. In other words, we are going to be having the Word ribbon user interface, and it is the one that is going to keep the related tools organized and easily accessible. So we want now to look at some of the things that you are seeing in there. So the ribbon parts, we have part A. We may talk about, it's called a tab. Now we are talking about the parts of the ribbon. The tab, a tab is a tab is tab, or using small letters as tab like that. That's what I'm talking about. Tab. A tab is the one that displays the ribbon's name and contains related groups of different tools and commands to perform the most common tasks. In other words, it's that tab that we are going to click on that will enable us to display all the related tools and commands that we can use to perform a given task. So if I come on this home and I click on home, that's a home tab. If I click on insert, that is insert tab. If I click on design, that is a design tab. But if you click on that home tab, it is going to display all the different groupings that we can use to do a given task. And what are those groups? The groups, these groups, they contain related features and tools organized within the ribbons tab. In other words, for me to get a font, if I want to get a font color or a font face or a font size, I have to come to a font, the grouping, which is, I have to come to the home tab, but under the home tab, I will select the font group. And that's what we call the group. In Excel, we call them sections, the font section. but in Word we call them groups. So they are going to be, let me maybe take a print screen of that small section that I'm talking about. So the whole of this, from this point up to here, let me paste it here. This is what we call the print, that is the grouping. It's now the group of the font group, because here it is showing it would be font section, but now we call it font group. This is the font group, but this font group is under the home tab, is under the home tab. That's the meaning. So when you click on any given tab, it will display those different groupings. But now, within these groupings, we have what we call the drop-down menu. And this drop-down menu allows you to select a command from a list of different options. Like the way you are seeing from this font color, this font group. What now we want to do, we only want to get the font color. Meaning a font color is a subset of the font group. So if I want that, I have to use this arrow you are seeing here, this one. If I want a color, I have to use this arrow you are seeing here. If I click on that, it's going to help me display those things. That's the menu that I'm going to use when I'm picking any font color you want. If I come to this, the same for the fill color, it will be the same. If I come to these upper cases and lower cases, I'll have to click on that drop down arrow. So that's the drop down arrow. So that drop down arrow, as you are seeing from this point, that's what is going to help us go through the different commands that we have from a list of the different options. So the other thing I want us to also understand is this arrow you are seeing, this horizontal arrow you are seeing here. The difference between this arrow and this one is that this arrow here, the drop down menu is only giving us the list of things within that specific item. The specific item here is font color. So the drop down arrow is only going to display things related to font color alone. But for this, that arrow you are seeing that arrow is the one that we call the dialog box launcher. Is the one that we use to display the dialog box. It opens a small box or a small window with information and options about a particular tool or group. When you click on it, it is opening the entire group of font group. In other words, you can access the font color. You can also have some advanced features within that same dialog box, which is not the case with the drop-down menu. Hope we've been able to get the difference from that perspective. But now, There is also some other thing that we need to look at. They are called icons. Because these things, the reason as why we are talking about them, we are going to be discussing about them. These other items you are seeing without these drop down arrows, they are called icons. This AB is an icon. The strike through is an icon. These ones with drop down arrows, those ones they are not icons, but this one which are single items that are there, they are icons. So we can click on them to display what we want. So what we've now learned is that the tools are organized within tabs. And these tabs, they are the ones that contain groups of related features and commands. We've also seen that graphical icons or menu items control the editing and formatting of a Word document. And we've seen that some tools or groups have additional options accessible from the different drop-down menu or the dialog box launchers as we've seen them. So we can come and delete these things because we have practically went through each of them. So now that's how we've been able to go through that idea of looking at the ribbon parts. But now let's put more emphasis on the page itself. This page, because this is the page that we say this is the page. That white part is what we call the page. So maybe you can take a print screen to see the page. The reason is why we are taking these print screens because we want these things to actually make sense to everyone. I'm highlighting the whole of it because there is something I want to explain. It looks to be a little bit big, but can try to maybe minimize it. It has brought in these other zoom things, but we no need to worry. We just want to learn something here. That's the page that we are talking about. So the word page is where texts and other content is entered, edited, and formatted. Pages have margins within which content is aligned. So the reason why I'm bringing up this is because we are seeing we have margins. These are margins within which our content is supposed to be aligned. So one of the things I want us to identify and look at is what we call the indent marker. The indent marker is the one that allows you to indent paragraphs to a desired location. The indent marker is this point right here, this point here. These are the indent marker, the one you're seeing me moving, the one you're seeing I'm moving. It's what we call the indent marker. Let me try to zoom in a little bit. These are the indent markers. I've picked the whole of it. That is the indent marker. But now there are two. There is left indent and right first line indent. Then there is the hanging indent. But the whole of it is called indent marker. And we've seen its role is just to to let us know where the paragraphs are going to start from. Because now if I push it and I start typing, you see? Now if I put it back, of course I have to adjust the upper one to see that it is coming to the same point. So I can choose to say that the next one is going to be moving in a different direction. So it is the one that is going to let you know how you are going to indent those paragraphs. Because you may find a Word document that is indented in a different ways, and you have to use that indent marker to indent those paragraphs. So the other thing is the horizontal ruler. This is the horizontal ruler as it is moving horizontally like this. This is a ruler. That's why when I came to view here, I clicked on ruler. When I uncheck that, it disappears. But if I check it again, it comes back. It means it's a ruler, the whole of it. This one moving down, moving horizontally is a horizontal ruler. The one moving vertically is the one that we call the vertical ruler. But now, we want to understand something. What are the ones that we call the page margins? The page margins are these points. These points where you are seeing this cursor is starting. There is also this. Meaning, this, because now you are seeing, if I try to put this from this point, it can't go. Meaning the page has already moved to that point. So this item from here to here and from here to here, those are the page margins. Those page margins, they are those blank spaces that are set around the edges of the page. These ones you are seeing, we are setting from these blank spaces that you are seeing from this. When I move it this side, I'm just creating a margin. So that's what we call the page margins. Then there is also the insertion section. It's actually, the insertion section is this point where you're seeing that cursor. It is that point where we start typing the text. You see, whatever we type, where it starts, that's what we call the insertion point. It indicates the position on the page where the text and the content is placed. Hope we have been able to discuss those different items that are within the page itself. In other words, we need to understand those page key. The page key is very important to understand. Then we are also going to look at the view controls. Though we spoke about them, the view controls, we said these view controls, they are the ones that we saw down here. We can take a print review, print screen. These points here, these ones we saw them. Can maybe paste them here. This is what we are talking about. The view controls. They are also very important because they give you the different view options. Now, this part you are seeing here, from this point to this point. Anyway, let me also take a print screen of that. Same item, but I'm stopping somewhere. This point, this one you are seeing, is the point that is going to help us to view the document options Actually, it is called the document view options. It allows us to select document view options that include the read mode, print layout, and that's our default. Then the web layout. These options, along with outline and draft view, can also be found in the View tab. From the Views group, we can also try to go to those view controls and look at them. From the View tab, under the View group, this is the View group. From here up to here is a View group. So we are seeing there is outline and there is also draft. We are seeing read mode, print layout, then web layout. And those options, we can access them from also this point. When I go there, they will also disappear. When I come to this point, you'll find that they are also rotating from this to this. But we want that. So hope we have understood that. Then now, this last part, because we have removed this one, now this last part is what we call the zoom adjustment. It adjusts zooming in and out of the document. We can actually try to zoom in and we can also try to zoom out of that particular document. So that's what we have from that point. Then let's look at now the status bar. The status bar is this item. Let's first delete this and this. We look at now the status bar. We can take a print screen. The status bar is this point. That point you are seeing with those words. That's what we call the status bar. It is down here at the bottom left corner. That is the status bar. And those status bar has different options as you are seeing. We have the option for page numbers. This one, you are seeing page 1 of 1. Page 1 out of 1. We have also the count, word count. This is 0 words because we haven't typed. But if we type in anything, you'll find that the word count is going to be changing. Then we have also this item here. That is the spelling and grammar check. So this first one, the page number displays the current page number and opens a pen that allows the user to navigate to a specific page in the document. When there are 2 pages, it gives you that pen to allow you have access to all the pages. You can navigate through those different pages. Then this word count, it opens a dialog box that displays the current words and character count of the file. In other words, it gives you the words and the characters. It counts them into numbers, and maybe I've now written 400 words or maybe 200 words, depending on what you have written. We shall see some of those things. Then the part C, we said the spelling and grammar. It is the one that opens the proofing pen to quickly correct spellings and grammatical errors in the document. And you're seeing it is also, the language is English, United States. You can change it to English, maybe United Kingdom or whichever language that you are interested in. So that's what I wanted us to walk through as far as the navigation or navigating Word is concerned. Because as we've gone through those things, we can actually be able to understand that we have seen some of the things that can help us do well. Maybe for those who want maybe to have something like an exercise they can actually do and have something, you can try to go through the different things that we spoke about. Like you can also try to locate the word program icon and launch Word 20, whether 2019, whether 2021, whichever version you are using of Word software. You can also select the blank document from your start screen, because when you launch your Microsoft Word, the next thing you can do is to open a blank document, or you can select from the different templates that may appear. So you may also try to locate the insertion point, and we say that's the cursor. Where you see where the cursor is flashing, you can maybe reach at that point and say that is the insertion point. So that cursor where it is, you can come and say, let me just put in my name, Cafeo Charles. Just put in your name like that. That is the insertion point. You can also try to notice the movement of the cursor, because now if the cursor I've typed, but now I want to notice the movement of the cursor. When I press OK, or I hit the enter key, I will notice that the cursor will move to the next line. That's one of the things that you may also need to know. You can also try to type in something. You can also try to type in something. It is, maybe you can say it is fun getting to know. It is fun getting to know Microsoft Word. Whichever, you can also put whichever version you are using. So whichever version you are using, you can also put it there, or you are using 365. It's also okay, you can put it there. You can also press enter. You also notice where the cursor is moving. You can also try to go to backstage view when you're using the key, this file tab. You go to the backstage, you be as if you try saving, you try knowing how to save, what will appear. If you go to save as, what will appear? If you go to print, what will appear? You see what you've just typed, the print review. So you can go back using that arrow, or hit the escape key. So you get to practice some of these things that we've been discussing. You can also try to go through the ribbon, the different tabs. You can also come to design tab. You go to reference, you go to review, you go to view tab. You can also try to put in grid lines. So these are some of the things that you can try to do from that point. So you can also try and change maybe some of these things, because we've been talking about the font colors. You can come to home tab and you come to this, that's we said the drop down menu. You pick, let's say we pick blue. For this one you can pick red. So you change some of those things. You see what we can also have. You can also come here and say maybe paragraph launcher. We go to that drop down launcher, you check the spelling, maybe to single line, press OK. So you see, you see the things that are going to actually come out. You can also try in this zoom, this view, and you look at the read. You see now this is how the read view will look like. It is end of the document. If at all we had other things, we would also see them from that point. We can also come back to we can also go to the web. That's how the web will look like. So that's some of the things that we can actually look at from that point. But now, for now, we are not going to save the document. What we are going to learn last is how to cancel or to close the Word document. You come to this right corner here and you click on this, because we say this is the what? That's the point that is going to help us close the document. We come to this X here. When you click on it, you cancel. That's how we cancel that. So that's what we've done as far as that video number 2 is concerned. So our video number 3 within the part 1 of document basics, we want also to look at creating our first document. That will be creating your first document will be our next video, and that will be video number 3 under the part 1 document basics. We'll see you in the next video. So the overview of this lesson